All right, everybody, welcome to Are They Out There? It's our podcast night. We've got Stuart, our co-host, and then for a second week in a row, we got Bobby, special guest. And
Back,
tonight
baby.
it's all about Bobby tonight, man.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I want everybody to remember that we have that contest going on for George next Sunday night, this coming Sunday night, and I'm going to pick two people that hit us up on either TikTok, Apple Podcasts, or here on the show. And then we've got another thing that I'll announce at the end of the show, another kind of a contest going on. It's kind of something different. But tonight we're going to get right into it. And remember, you can email us at aretheyoutthere1@gmail.com. So give us your emails, give us suggestions, write in about wanting to be on the show. Two people are going to be on the show with us this coming Sunday. And
it's special.
We talked about it last week. George is, I don't know if special is the right word, but it's going to be good.
I'm going with special.
Let's jump right into the subject. I mean, this has been happening to you, Bobby. I know we've talked about sleep paralysis demons and stuff like that. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. So I guess like the best way to explain it would be, so I remember the first instance I had of this. And I remember, so when I dream, the way I dream is I don't dream what I would call imaginary dreams. Like, way I dream is actual, like, what I am actually doing. Like, I am laying in the bed, and it's almost as if I'm conscious. Like, it's almost if I'm seeing through my eyelids. The dream and reality are become one. Like, there's no wake up, if that makes sense. So, the last time I had this happen, a few months ago, I laid down and I was sitting on the bed. Anyway, I guess I fell asleep, but the dream basically was me laying in my bed asleep. And anyway, I felt just an awful presence, like something there, and I could see. And I started seeing a black, dark figure slowly walking towards the bed. Well, I couldn't move. Like, I couldn't move my body. I couldn't move my extremities, anything. And which is kind of, pretty frightening, to be completely helpless at the point. Well, it got pretty close to me, and I finally was able to, because I'm actually thinking in my brain at the same time, and this is supposedly in a dream, that, hey, you got to move, you got to move, you got to move. The same I would do awake. And I finally break loose, okay, and it's gone. Well, 2 days later, same exact thing happens again. This time the figure starts getting closer, and it literally grabs me by the foot, and it's almost mocking me. And it grabs me by my foot and spins me halfway in the bed. And I'm able to finally come out of it. Well, I'm like, man, this is weird. So I start doing some investigating, and it's really scary, man. Like, it's really, really terrifying. So I started doing some reading about it, and they're trying to explain that this is called a sleep paralysis. And the more I looked into it, there's really not a real study. There's not a real explanation. They try to, if you go by the scientific way, they try to say, hey, what it is your body is stuck in sleep. You're in a REM and resting eye movement. And basically you're conscious during your dream, but your body is asleep. And you're hallucinating. So scientifically, they're trying to say I'm hallucinating. So I go to looking deeper into it, and I'm finding through history, through hundreds of years, I mean, all the way back to the Viking times and stuff, everybody sees the same being. And you're not going to, to the detail, everybody has the same exact things happen to them. And you're not going to convince me that people within hundreds of years can have the same exact delusion, like, to a T. So it's just, I had it happen one more time after that. About a week later, I was laying in my living room and fell asleep. And same thing. I felt like something, I was like, man, something's here. And I couldn't move. And it come all the way close to, like, it come within up to my face. And all I kept thinking, I was like, please, dogs, help me, please. If you don't know, I have a giant Dogo Argentino and a pit bull. And I was like, God, please, dogs, help me.
Right. So
But
did the dogs ever react to any of this?
I couldn't see them. And I didn't know if they could see anything. But like I said, the room started getting darker, and it come all the way to me. Every time that I dealt with it, it was the same entity, same being, and it got closer to the point where it wanted to touch, to show me it could. And then it, like, the last time it got it got all the way to my face to let me know, like, it was like. And so I've done a little bit more reading on it even recently, because it just really bothers me that I have it so much. And a lot of people, you ever seen the movie Insidious?
Yes.
Where the kid, leaves his body. So they say that is where you astro project, where you can actually leave your body. And they say that, from my understanding and all the readings, that it's dangerous, because that's where, your body can be grabbed by these entities and whatnot. And that's what they're being drawn to, especially when you leave the body, is like, it's like a beacon for them, and they're that's a way for them to come back or whatnot. So anyway, I've done a bunch of reading about it, and it's just, I don't know. I believe there's more there than, a light explanation telling me I'm hallucinating.
Right. And I was reading some stuff about, like, the sleep paralysis and the sleep paralysis demon. And a lot of everything I read kind of, like, always circled back to, you're having this nightmare and you wake up, but your brain is still in the nightmare, and it takes like a couple minutes for you to get out of it, maybe even a minute, but it seems like a lifetime for the person. At least that's the quote, clinical explanation for what's happening. Like, what's happening with you is basically what they're saying. But I mean, I've had maybe 2 instances where I just feel like somebody's holding me down, and I wake myself up, and I know that I was, like, paralyzed in the dream, but I've never woken up and been paralyzed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Not like yourself, where you wake up like that.
I've had, like, so I have never had anything quite like that, but I just have, like, little, like strange, crazy times. Like, so, like, I forgot, it was probably about, like, let's say, like, 3 weeks ago, so pretty recent. So my wife and we were sleeping, and then, like, in the morning, I remember just being like, God, I had just absolute shit sleep. You know what I mean? And then, like, I was like, actually, like, and I don't really dream very often, but I was like, no, I dreamt. And it was just something about, like, basically like an airplane crash. And I was telling my wife about that. And what's even crazier is that she had a dream that we were in an airport and she lost me. And it's even weird, but she's like, she had a really, really terrible sleep that night. And I'm just like, the only thing I can think of is just, like, we were both had, like, night sweats, everything like that. I'm like, that had to have been just some type of, like, bad, like, something.
We were talking last week about, Montauk, and, like, how we only use so much percentage of our brain. And I just believe that, I think when we're asleep, I feel like, I don't know, maybe our brain wanders, and does other things, like, what the odds for you and your wife, to have, dreams that would basically interact with each other, same subject, without talking about it or something, is, like, that's, that's unheard, so there has to be some sort of link there where, obviously we
Something,
can't
yeah.
control it, but maybe, when you're asleep, something happens, maybe some waves or something are shared or
Yeah, no, hey,
thought
no,
process.
absolutely. Absolutely,
Well,
man.
yeah,
Like, there's got to be, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and you look at deja vu, right?
Hmm.
Real as hell,
Um,
man.
uh, right. I've caught myself where I'm like, wait a minute, I've been in this situation before, you
So
know, and you
have
got
you
to
had
wonder,
deja
how does your brain
vus?
do that?
Have you had a deja vu, Gary? Like, so the way mine are will be something from my childhood that I had a dream or something about, and it come to fruition later in life. Like the instance, and for some reason I could remember that instance as a kid or whatnot, and I'm like, whoa, been here.
Yeah, no, most of mine are like, yeah, I don't the deja vu part is only like when I'm in the instance, it's like I know it's going to be said or happening. I've been here before.
Right, I
I
get
Mine
don't
are,
that.
know if it's
mine,
from the
yeah.
past or whatever.
Mine are premonitions, man. And I'm like, I firmly believe in them. Like, I knew when, like, before I was gonna get blown up, like, I was probably like 6 weeks before I got hit with the roadside bomb. I remember just all of a sudden one day, and it went from like, we were like, the best times of our lives to all of a sudden I was just like, it was just like the life got sucked out of me. And I just tell them, like, I remember telling people, just being like, I want to go home. I was like,
Right.
something terrible is about to happen to me. I know it is. Or like, let's say there's like a piece of mail coming, like at home. I don't know why all of a sudden I'll think of it and I know that there's a piece of mail from this government agency that's in my mailbox. You know what I mean? And I'll
Right.
go home and sure as shit, I'll have something from them. You know what I
So
mean? And yeah.
here's one for you. So when I was in the Coast Guard, I was on a ship that fought in World War II, right? Built in the late 30s. It was called a Treasury class ship, mainly like a destroyer. But while I was on it in 1980, um, toward the end of my tour on it, I started having these dreams at night that the boat flips upside down and is sinking. The lights are off, and I swim out through my berthing area. I get out to what they call the air castle, where I start swimming up the side of the ship, and I wake up, right?
Hmm.
So I keep having this dream that the ship is sinking, that it sinks. And I finally told the skipper I went off his boat, man. I'm done, right?
Yeah.
1989, guess what happens to my ship?
It sinks.
They take it out and they sink it with the sister ship off the coast of Florida, right? Not knowing that this ship was ever going to become an artificial reef. Most of them go to the scrapyard, go to
Yeah.
Bethlehem Steel and get turned into razor blades. But I had this dream, and here's the thing about it. The sister ship is sitting upright. My ship is laid over on its side.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I had this dream, and it was the exact dream over and over and over again,
Huh.
and it was like, I didn't know if I lived or died. I just know my ship sank. And
Yeah.
then,
Well, all of mine are so realistic. Like I can remember being shot in the head, and the reality of it is so real that it's scary. Like it's terrifying. Um, and another thing, so they want to say hallucinating, and this is just an instance. I remember one time having a dream that I fell off of a building, and I
Hmm.
bam smacked the floor. Well, when I hit the floor, I woke up, and what had happened is I had fell off the bed. So, what correlates with my eyes closed to dream of falling off of a building at the same time, and then upon impact, wake of a real impact?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if we can
You're
ever.
like your equilibrium caught something, and it, like, basically like you were in such a deep sleep or something like that. Like it just, I mean, it took you a second, like it almost fooled your brain. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Right. So, but you know how fast rolling off a bed would to make you hit the floor with it be seconds, but it was long enough in my brain to go through a whole to build up a whole scenario of going off a building and hitting the ground.
yeah. Well,
Right.
what's so crazy is that, I think to yourself is like when you're asleep, like it takes you a couple hours to get hit REM or whatnot. But I mean, my dreams, if I do dream, there in maybe like 15 seconds.
Same.
Like 15, you know what I mean? Like they are
And
so
half the
quick.
time you never remember them, right?
Well, if you don't talk about them, if you don't talk about your dreams right as soon as you wake up, then you'll be like, oh, what the hell was that? But when I was a kid though, I could remember my dreams. Like it was never like that. As an adult, I have to talk about it immediately when I wake up. Otherwise, 10 minutes later, I'll be like, shit, I dreamt, but what was that dream about? You know?
Right. You know, and I usually don't have nightmares, but I've had like 2 or 3 like terrifying nightmares where I start talking in my sleep and yelling it because it's so realistic.
Yeah.
One of these, and it's funny because you know we talk about Bigfoot and UFOs and all that here, right? My fiance Shelly was over, and I was dreaming that I was being stalked by Bigfoot,
Oh,
and I was in cover, right? And I could hear it. And then all of a sudden, and I just gave myself the chills, I felt like a wet nose and the breathing and the
oh,
grunting right on my shoulder. And I started screaming, "Don't kill me. Don't
yeah.
kill me."
Gary, you got to
And
get on
then
the offense, bro. You got to get on
and
the
then well,
offense in that position.
but then I feel in my dream somebody grabs me and pulls me, and then it's over, right? Well,
Yeah.
the next morning, Shelly's like, "Holy shit, man." She's like, you were yelling like, "Don't shoot me" or "Don't kill me" or something. She goes, and I reached over and she goes, "I didn't want to wake you and scare you." She goes, "So I put my hand on your chest." And she says, "You took a deep breath and then you calmed right down and went back to sleep." And it's like in my
Hmm.
dream, this hand grabbed me and
Hmm.
pulls me out of danger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, here she is, it's her hand. My brain has me in this nightmare, but yet it's working in conjunction with what she's doing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
That to me is weird. You
I'll
know what I
bring
mean?
up
When your brain
some.
is doing that.
I'll bring up, and Stu, I don't know if you ever had any of these. So I got 3 of them that were really strong, and I actually remember being conscious, but what I was seeing while I was conscious wasn't really there. So
Hmm.
I remember, you know, if
Are you talking
everybody's
like
got, you
the?
know, if
Are
you
you
got a
talking?
TV and if you got a
Are you
TV in
talking
your
like the?
room, how if
Are you talking like the 1,000-meter stare, Bobby? Or are you just talking about like?
no, like, so I was like in bed fully asleep and I come to. I remember the first time it happened. I think I've been out for like a year.
Mhm.
Anyway, so my girlfriend, you know, we had TV in the bedroom, and you know, when the power's off, it's got a red light on it. Well, I come to and I saw that red light, and I thought I had fallen asleep on a mission, and and
Yeah.
somebody had got up on me.
Yeah.
You know, so I that's what I'm seeing, and I roll over to her. I remember rolling over to her, and I was like, "Do you see that?" And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Give me the radio." And
Hmm.
she's like, "Well, I don't have the radio." And then I'm like, I was like, "You don't have the fucking radio? Like, I will deal with you when we get back." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Do you see the 2 there?" I was like, "I'll take the 2 and you take the one on the right." And she's like, "You
Yeah.
got to wake up, man. Like, you got to come to." But I mean, I was tripping, dude. I was like, I fell asleep, and they snuck up on the whole team, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had another one like that, and I remember myself doing it, and I guess she played along, and she's like, "You come up out of the bed and told me do not move." And she's like, "I laid there," and she's like, "I watched you for 4 minutes unhook a bomb."
Yeah.
She's like, she's like,
No.
"You were fucking clipping wires, fucking pulling
Yeah.
shit off, and everything else." She's like, and then
Yeah.
you, and I remember doing that, and I saw a bomb. Like, that's all
Yeah.
I
You
could
saw a
see.
bomb.
Yeah.
See, mine are auditory. Like, so I'll have times where I'll wake if I fell asleep or let's say like that, I'll hear an explosion. And I'll be like to the point where I'm just like, was that a car wreck outside? Was there like something. But I remember it happened to me once when I was went back to Iraq after I'd been wounded, and I remember waking up and like going out and like going over to my roommate's door and be like knocking on. I'm like, "Did you hear that? Like,
And it won't
was
be
that
anything.
like?" Oh no, he just like looked at me like I was crazy, and I'm like, "Sorry." I was like, "Sorry." You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it was late as
No,
shit,
no,
but
no.
I was just like,
I've heard tons of them like that, and they're like, I'm like,
"Yeah,
did y'all hear that go off out there? And they're like, no,
yeah."
and I'm like,
Well,
I
with
swear.
with you having the sleep paralysis and the demons and stuff like that, I've watched friends like sit in a chair or on the edge of a bed and just like dead stare for minutes and minutes, right? And you call to them or whatever, and they just sit there, and then all of a sudden they're like awake, and you're like, "Are you all right?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, but I don't feel like I was myself." You know what I mean?
Oh,
And you got to wonder if that's part of that whole sleep demon paralysis thing too, where either your brain just takes over, or that causes this. And I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to
there's
explain
actually
yeah,
a
it.
yeah, yeah.
there's a painting. There's actually a painting. If you look it up, and I want to say it was like from the 15th or 16th century, and an artist painted the night hag, they call her, and it's what I see. So, and
Mm.
we're talking somebody from hundreds of years ago. You're not going to make me believe that we are all hallucinating the same thing.
Well, is it kind of like that whole thing though? But think about this: like whenever some people do DMT and stuff like that, like they always either talk to aliens or they go someplace else. But it's always, everybody who smokes this drug, everybody goes to relatively one of two or three scenarios. So it's just like, is that like just something that's in the brain, or is
Man,
that,
I
you
don't
know
know.
what
I'm
I mean?
scared of that shit, man. I
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
you, I couldn't do it.
But you know what I mean? But it's also one of those things like, they talk about like SARS, like through the DNA, you know what I mean? Like where things will, like, let's say like people who are out on a farm, you know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty good chance that they're going to have some pretty big kids just because the manual labor that, ensues while you are on a farm, or if you're in big space. You go inside of a city where you have cramped kind of surroundings and whatnot, you can kind of look at like, like New York or Seattle. Think people places where like shit's built on top of each other. People are generally smaller. You know what I mean? It's just because your DNA is like, well, I have to be computer literate. I have to be book smart. I have to do this, this, and this because I'm in a tech, kind of like a civilization part of the world. Whereas
Well, I
somebody
mean,
who
fish are the
is,
same way. Like you put a fish in a fish bowl, it's only going to grow, the size of
yeah,
its bowl.
yep, exactly. And
I
so,
mean,
yeah,
it's crazy just to think
yeah.
about it.
So,
But I just, so I wonder if that's
sorry,
kind of
fish.
like the whole thing too. Yeah, I mean, if it's like, I mean, like if it just kind of passed down through the DNA, or if it's just like the certain area where you live with, if it's wooded or whatnot, or I don't know. It'd be interesting to know what parts of the world or what I guess group of people might have that the most, and if there's a
Right.
correlation between your ancestry or maybe like something that is like where you live and where they live, that might be something have in common.
So here comes my, like, when I do like a paranormal investigation, I always go in to disprove, like, is it a branch making the noise on the outside of the house? Is it your old water heater because of hard water, you're making it pop, make these noises? So I wonder sometimes too, like when we talk about these things and different things happen to different people, like if it isn't like when you're a kid and you hear your parents or grandparents telling stories or talking about or practicing things, like, so my grandmother believed she was a white witch, and she practiced that whole white witch magic, I guess you could say. She
Mhm.
read tea leaves, all this different things, you know what I mean? She did different chants, the sage, the crystals, all of that. And now my sister does that, right? But as a kid, you don't like pay attention, but yet your subconscious is hearing this, right? You hear these
Mhm.
stories, and you're hanging out with the family and they're talking about it, but you're playing with little Bobby Joe over in the corner with your GI Joe, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
could it be something like that too? As we grow up, we hear these things and it's in our subconscious, and when we sleep, you know what I mean, then like these
Mhm.
stories manifest themselves. I mean, I'm throwing that out there as like, could that be a possibility type thing? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I absolutely. That's definitely something to think about.
Right. Bobby, you got that look on your face like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
No. I was actually looking up this painting. I was trying to see what time it was from, and it was an Italian guy had painted it like in the 1700s. I just wanted to make sure I was right on that information. And
Is that where the
Yeah.
woman's kind of like laying there like this, and then there's two like
there's like
specter
an entity
figures?
sitting over the top of them.
Yeah.
And basically, so I talked to another buddy of mine, and he knew all about it as well. And he's like, yeah, he's like, she would always, put pressure on my chest. And so I went, I was looking it up, and like that's what she's known for doing. Everybody all says, well, she presses down on my chest, like she'll stand on me or press down on my chest. And when I went and read like multiple other accounts from like hundreds of people, and they all describe the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'll leave it be. I just think that's I think there's more there. And then, like I said, if you get the reading into the astral projection, they're basically saying like that's the way to leave this dimension. Basically, is through astral projection.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's kind of roll that astral projection and stuff into kind of what's kind of upcoming here in the next few weeks and stuff like that, where I'm going to be doing a paranormal investigation at a house. I'll give you a little background. The owner of the house actually bought the house from me. I lived in it for 15 years. I was renting it out, and then I decided to sell it. Didn't want to be a landlord anymore. He knows my daughter, and he's been telling my daughter that he hears kids running up and down the hallway. He sees handprints on the window, like little kids' handprints, but from the outside, like in the double pane.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that you would need a big ladder to get up to these windows he's talking about. He's so scared he's sleeping in the garage. Right. He doesn't want to sleep in the house. And downstairs, there's a living room with a fireplace, and hi there. And they say the downstairs, they've tried to rent it out, and people stay there for about a month or so, and then they're done. Right. So I'm going to do an investigation there. And I've done it. We're doing a contest with that where I'm going to take one person with me to do this investigation. But I had somebody talk to me from England that saw the house on the TikTok and has been talking to me about it. And Bobby, you were mentioning that you had something happen to you with a medium. So I'm going to let you go.
I'll let you tell your story first. But it was funny. I wanted to bring up earlier, like you were talking about somebody from England was talking to you. I was like, God, they're going to try to talk him into buying crypto. I was like,
no, she's very nice. She was talking to me, and she said things to me about my mother who passed away this past December that nobody really would know. Especially things about who I'm trying to find out who my real dad is. My mom took that secret to the grave. The man she claimed to be my real dad, we did a DNA test and it wasn't him. And she was stubborn, man. I mean, like she was like, no, didn't want anything to do with it. And this woman was telling me, she's like, wow, she goes, your mom, man, she doesn't want you to know. She's like, she's telling me, stop it. You don't want to know. And I'm like, how would she know that? How would she know I was even looking for my dad?
He's probably going to be somebody ridiculous rich like Benjamin Button, and like you're just missing out on all of it.
But I mean, so I've always been skeptical of psychics, mediums, stuff like that. But I mean, this woman was giving me a few chills, talking about different things, and then she was telling me about the house because she saw it in the TikTok. And she was telling me about the house, and the one thing that's kind of stuck with me, because I talked to her this morning about the house. She's like, do me a favor. She goes, before you go in, she goes, please, please, please say a protection prayer. And I'm like, why would you ask me to do that? And she's like, it's not demonic. She goes, but it's like, she sees the door opening and all she sees is black smoke. She goes, there's something bad there. It's not demonic, but there's something bad. And like, she just kept telling me, please do this, please do that. You know what I mean? I'm like, Okay, but it's just weird about the mom thing, how she hit on all these things, and
Well,
I've never
you
talked to
know,
her before.
but like the whole thing that I think, like, as far as like the, the medians and stuff like that, it's like, why don't
Bro,
they go and buy a lot?
I
Why
didn't
don't they
believe
buy,
them either. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
why don't they go buy lottery tickets?
Right.
Why don't they, you know what
Well,
I mean? Like, why don't they just like, why
I
don't they
think
make really
I
good
don't think I
investments?
don't think it's like that, Stu. I think that it's like
Yeah.
I don't think they can like see future or anything like that. But so I'm gonna throw a story time.
All
So
right.
Gary was telling his, and anybody that knows me, man, like, dude, I'm not a nervous person. Like, I don't walk the house. Like, I mean, dude, I'll go outside and I mean, shit don't make me nervous. Anyway, so I was living in this house, and I knew it was pretty old, but I didn't know how old it was. And anyway, Bailey, come here. I got it because there's another person that was there. Bailey, let me show. I got to introduce everybody to Bailey. All right. So this is Bailey. She's a fur missile. All right. Well, anyway, we was going to bed one night, and I went and laid down in the bed, and 99% of the time she jumps in the bed, she lays down my leg or gets under the blanket, she goes to sleep. Same thing every night. Well, it's pitch black in there, and she won't lay down, and I feel her go to the end of the bed, and she's on the end of the bed, and I'm telling her, like, hey, let's go to bed, let's go to sleep, girl. And she runs back to me, cries a little bit, and goes back to the end of the bed. Well, I'm like, man, I'm starting to get a bad feeling. So I turn on my light on my phone, and I shine it on her, and her eyes, she's following something across the room. Like, well, she starts growling. Well, she runs back up to me and then runs back to the end of the bed and starts snapping. She starts lunging. And I'm like, I got a terrible feeling, like, and I'm like, shit, man, like, I'm getting nerved up. So I get up, I turn on the lights, and I go in the living room, and I end up sleeping in the living room. Anyway, so I was seeing this girl, and I was telling her about it, and she's like, my mom's a medium. And I talked to her mom, never spoke to the woman a day in my life, never ran across anything. And she's like, that house is really old. It's over 100 years old. And I was like, yeah. She's like, you have a lot of spirits around you. And she's like, you have a lot of good ones. She's like, were you ever a leader? Did you lead men? She's like, because there's a lot of guys waiting on you to follow you on. And I was like, no, how would you know that? And she says the thing is a lot of bad ones have attached as well. And she's like, there is a really bad and old one in that house. And I was like, really? And she's like, did you have your dog? She's like, do you have a dog? And I was like, yeah. She said, can the dog see it? I was like, yes. So, man, I went and smoked about 1.5 pounds of sage. Like,
dude, you're
I called my boy up, bro. I mean, we rolled. Like,
you guys are gonna laugh. This is a deja vu moment. I knew exactly what you were going to talk about. You have never told me this story.
Never.
And the minute you said the dog on the end of the bed, dude, I knew exactly what you were going to say and where you were going. That is like I got the goosebumps because I knew exactly what you're going to say. Weirdest thing, right there. I mean that I knew exactly what you were going to say about this the good and the bad. That's I'm a little on that one. Yeah, that's yeah. Super weird, man.
I moved the hell out.
Super weird.
And I told her, I was like, man, if I burn the house down, does it go away? You know what I'm saying? Like, I done went down to New Orleans looking for Marie Laveau.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's wrap this up tonight. the one thing I want to announce about that the paranormal investigation is I'm going to pick one person to go with me. It is here in Utah, so you got to live in the Salt Lake area. I'll let you know when the date's going to happen, but I'm going to pick that one person. So again, email us at arethayouthere@gmail.com. Hit us up on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio.
I wonder, I'm trying to think if we could get any equipment. Like I have a thermal. I just don't know how I'd get it to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
So
this thing's a thermal.
So I have a small little FLIR. It's about yay big that hooks to my iPhone that I use. I've got a Geoport. I've got the Spirit boxes. I've got all of that. But, any type of night vision and stuff, I would love to get my hands on. I just can't afford that kind of equipment. I mean, George Brown, he made me the Geoport like they use on the Ghost Adventures and all that. And that was like $2,000 to get a Geoport made. Yeah. It's not cheap on that, but we're gonna. I got two Huskies actually. So, but like we were talking about before we came on air, that I'm going to record it. We're going to put it out on YouTube, and there will be no trickery, fakery, anything like that that's going to happen. That's why I want to bring somebody that listens to us along for this, so they can understand everything that's going on.
And who knows? It might be nothing. It might be
exactly.
nothing.
It might be all explainable. You know what I mean? It might just be all, and that's the whole thing. I go into it wanting to explain what's going on, and if I can't explain it, then I can't explain it.
And Gary, hey, remind them about George. You want to be here for George.
Yes, I'm telling you, people.
Yeah. Again, like I said at the beginning, we've got I'm going to pick two people for next Sunday night. And what I will do is, if you hit me up on the TikTok or email us here, I will get a hold of you so I can get your email so we can invite you to our podcast. It is going to be, I think the word experience would be a good word to use. It could be enlightening. You might end up with a
shaved head sitting at a Buddhist temple somewhere.
Stuart, right? Y'all have his TikTok information. Like I forgot his name. I told it to Gary earlier. But you can get on there, and he's got tons of videos. If you guys want to get a preview.
Yeah. Honestly, you should put that up. That would be. All right. You should probably try and link that.
Well, here's what we'll do real quick. I'm gonna put this out there. His TikTok is MELCHIZEDEK. His picture is in a white robe, and he's in front of a fire, doing something with the fire. So
no. Hey,
Gary goes, bro, he's robed up.
No. Do you know what? Hey, do you know what that is? Actually, he went to an Indian seance, or like one tribal meeting, and he wore his white robe, and they called him like basically like the white buffalo.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I guess through some ancient time, you know what I mean, when they have like prophecies, but there's a prophecy of basically a Pacific Islander that would come like an all white whatnot, and like what I mean, it was just.
Is he ride on a pale horse or?
I'm telling you, it's.
I need to add in there that the number 762 is after that name, so it's MELCHIZEDEK 762. He's got 4,597 followers and over 30,000 likes. I mean, people love him. I mean,
and the thing is, he just started. I'm
scrolling through, and like some of his videos have 1,500 views, right? And I mean, he's like, one of them, it looks like he's just pointing to a map of Africa, right? So I mean, I'm gonna watch a few of these, but there is definitely, I mean, looking at his photos and just a little bit, he reminds me of a shaman.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Just by his look, he looks like a shaman. But like I told you guys the other week, I mean, I took 5 pages of notes listening to this guy when I was talking to him. when you asked me to give him a call, you know, to reach out to him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think honestly, I think it could be one of the best
I'm gonna
podcasts.
ask him about my dreams, dude. I gotta ask him. Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh no, hey, I
Yeah,
guarantee
you
you,
know,
and that's just it. Like,
Uh,
and the people who did get to come on, I mean, like, please take into consideration, like, like this is just kind of his belief and whatnot. I mean, like, you can't tear anybody down for their beliefs. I mean, and if it makes him comfortable at night, then it's not fucking with you.
Yeah,
So
man. I'm cool with it. Like he if he's got a perspective, like I mean, same way I do with everybody. Like I'm not gonna try to disprove it. I'm gonna go read about it. Like
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's my other thing too: is we're all veterans, and you guys are combat veterans. You know, I mean, yeah, I was in a hurricane, rescued some people and stuff like that. But I've had a couple of people take pot shots at us when we were doing drug busts. But
bro,
nothing
hurricane's
like
wild,
what you
man.
guys are. And he's a combat vet too, if I'm right on that. And
Oh yeah.
just I asked to show the respect, not only because we are veterans and he's a veteran, but you got the three of you have been through hell. And I just want that respect and respect his views as we'll respect their views. Whoever wins the contest to come on with us on that. And that's my big thing. Just be respectful to the whole
fun.
thing.
Like it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait.
yeah. So yeah. So all right. Well,
Who knows
can't wait.
something?
Who
knows?
No, I just know it's gonna be like I do it. I know it's gonna be.
And
I know you're gonna sit there and just be like,
right. And when I started this podcast and the idea and talking to you, Stu, the whole thing was aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal and stuff. But when I talked to him, the other thing is the show's called Are They Out There? I mean, what he's hearing and the different things and what he talks about really plays into Are They Out There?
everything.
So yeah. So just keep that in mind. And then I look forward to next week, guys. So
Me too.
we'll see you then.
All right.
Stu, Bobby, thanks for coming in again tonight. And you know what? I'll see you this coming Sunday.
Always a pleasure, man.